Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Now we move to a new topic known as propagation of crops. Propagation of crops. Propagation simply means reproduction in crops, the process by which we get a new crop from the old one. In animals, we call it reproduction, but in plants, we call it propagation. Now, there are two types of propagation. We have to call the sexual propagation, we have to call the asexual or the asexual propagation. When we say sexual, that means it has to involve both sexes. Plants also have both sexes, the male and the female inflorescence. Then we'll talk about pollination, the anther, the pollen grain from the anther of the flower to the stigma of the flower, later producing the seed. So the seed is a product of sexual propagation. And when we want to propagate seeds, if we a crop, once we use seed, we call it sexual propagation. Whatsoever part of the plant that we use for planting that is not the seed is called asexual propagation or vegetative propagation. The word vegetative means the part that grows, and these are all other parts of the plant that grows and matures. They are called vegetative, either the stem or the leaves or the root or the branches. When any other part of the plant you use for propagation apart from the seed is called asexual or vegetative propagation. So let's go to the first one, propagation by seed, which is called sexual propagation. A lot of crops are grown or are propagated by seeds. Examples are the vegetables, which include all these tomatoes, okra, and the stuff. They are grown by seeds. Now, to grow crops by seeds, it involves the use of the process known as germination. The seeds can be planted directly on the field. When you plant seed directly to the field, it's called in situ planting. In situ planting. That's where you plant the seeds directly to the farmland. But some seeds can be planted, firstly raised in the nursery before they are transplanted. That one is called nursery planting. Nursery planting. Nursery planting. Some seeds are very tiny, like seeds of some vegetables, the seeds of tomato are very tiny. But the seeds of cereals like maize, rice, millet can be grown directly on the farmland. They are a bit big, can be seen. But the seeds of vegetable crops like okra, like pepper, they are very tiny, and so they need a special place to first of all caution. That special place is called a nursery. The nursery can be in a nursery bag, in a nursery bed, or in a nursery tree, which contains very rich soil, and good water will be provided them. And then the seeds are sown in the nursery. Later, when they have germinated to seedlings, they are transplanted to the farmland. Either grown in the nursery or grown on the farmland directly in situ, direct sowing. Seed must first of all germinate out of the earth before it can continue to grow. If it does not germinate out of the earth, it cannot grow. It cannot be useful. Then what is seed germination? Seed germination is the process by which seeds develop into seedlings inside the soil and then sprout out of the soil or emerge out of the soil and it becomes the seedlings. Now, for seeds to germinate out of the soil, there are some conditions that must be met. These are called conditions that are right or that are necessary for germination. The first one is right temperature. The temperature must be right. It must not be too hot, it must not be too cold. When the temperature is too cold, the seeds can become dormant. They will not germinate. When the temperature is too high, the seeds can be dead, can be roasted or burnt inside the soil. Next one is air or oxygen. Because seeds also respire, they need oxygen. So the oxygen must be there in the soil. The soil must not be acidic, must not be waterlogged. Oxygen must be available for growth. Then moisture, there must be water. This moisture will help in rupturing the seed coats or the seed tester to enable the seed to germinate. Then you have the viable seed. The seed must be viable in that it must not be eaten up by pests. The seeds must have the cotyledon, the endosperm, and every active part of it entire before it can germinate. Now, when the seeds are to germinate inside the soil, the first part of it that comes out is called the radicle. The first part of the seed that comes out is called radicle. The radicle will later grow to become the root system. This one grows vertically into the soil, followed by the plume. The plume is the one that grows vertically and that can emerge out of the soil. The plume later becomes what we call the shoot system. The shoot system gives rise to the stem, to the branches, and to the leaves. Meanwhile, the radicle gives rise to the root system, which comprises of either the primary roots, secondary roots, and the tertiary roots. Or maybe if it is a monocotyledon, you have the adventitious roots or the fibrous roots. Okay. Now, when the seeds, for the seed to germinate out of the soil, it needs food. That food is produced by this cotyledon or the endosperm, which contains the seed and the food of the seed. The seed makes use of this food, the cotyledon or the endosperm, to germinate and to sprout out of the soil until the first foliage leaves are produced. Once the leaves are produced, then the seedlings begin to photosynthesize and manufacture its own food by the help of the chlorophyll and also by trapping carbon dioxide from the atmosphere with water and then with sunlight to produce its glucose with the equation 6CO2 plus 6H2O to give you, then you have the chlorophyll, then you have your sunlight to give you carbohydrate H12 O6 plus 6O2. Now, once the seeds have germinated, sprouted out of the soil, and now can photosynthesize, it begins to produce its own food. It becomes the plant. That is for sexual propagation. It can be done for most crops. Most crops can be propagated by seeds. Now, let's move to the asexual propagation. That means the use of other parts of the plant to propagate. This can be two types. We have the natural and we have the artificial. The natural asexual propagation and the artificial asexual propagation. The natural asexual or asexual propagation is when the plant on its own is able to produce its young ones without involvement of man from its part of the body, either from the stem or from the root or from any part of its body. Once it's able to produce its own young ones, then it is known as natural propagation. Examples include the suckers. Suckers is as gotten a plantain. That one consists of a young plantain emerging from the base of the plantain trees. It's also happening in banana. It's able to produce a young offshoot of stem from its base. This offshoot of stem can be removed and can now be planted in a new place where it forms another plantain crop or a banana crop. That is called sucker. Another very close to sucker is pineapple. Pineapple also does the same. We can remove the crown of its head and take it to a new place to germinate, and it produces a new pineapple. That one is called crown sucker. Crown sucker. Then we have the one of grasses called runners. Grasses grow in a particular place, can spread very fast to another place. Anywhere it spreads to, it sprouts, attached to the soil, and grow again. And that is called runners. It's common in grasses. You may not need to plant grass all the time. Once you have planted one, it begins to creep, begin to spread and run. It's called runners. Then you have the comb of cocoyam. When you plant cocoyam will grow in the soil. Then it will also produce another daughter cell of cocoyam very close to it on its body. That when you have harvested your cocoyam, you can take that part of cocoyam that's joined to the small cocoyam that is joined to the main cocoyam as they come, and you can now grow it. That's called comb. Then you have the bulb of onion bulb. When onion has been germinated. You know, onion are just compressed leaves. Then by the side of onions, you see another one that is sprouting. It's called bulb, onion bulb. Then you have the bulbs. Bulbs, there's a type of yam, water yam, that produce on its leaves, produce some tiny things that look like seeds, but they can be removed. They are not actually seeds, they are bulbs and can be replanted. Then you have stolon. Stolon builds like runners and is in grasses. Then you have underground stem like yam. Yam is an underground stem, it's a stem tuber. And then you also have Irish potato. Yam is not a root. Irish potato is not a root. They are stems. And this can be taken, cut to portions, and then replanted. All these are natural. They are natural vegetable propagation because they do not involve man activities. Now, but we have artificial vegetative propagation. This is when man is involved in assisting the plant or crop to germinate by taking parts of the plant and put it into the soil, or bringing soil around part of the plant, or taking the part of the plant to another part of the plant, rearranging it for it to multiply or to propagate. When that is done, it's called artificial asexual propagation or artificial vegetative propagation of crops. Examples are cutting. We have the cutting, the layering, the budding, the marcotting, and the grafting. The cutting means any part of the plant that is brought and cut to portions and planted. That is the cutting. It can be the stem, it can be the root, it can be the leaf. For example, in cassava, begonia, browphilium. For example, in cassava, in sugarcane, in hibiscus flower, in kola nut, or in cocoa, the stem of the plant can be taken and cut to portions and inserted to the soil at an angle, especially angle 45 degrees. That particular stem will sprout by the node, will form roots which are attached to the ground and will form the branches up and will germinate. For example, in cassava, the only known method of planting cassava is use of cassava stems. The only known method of planting sugarcane is use of sugarcane stem, where it is cut to portion and it's arranged properly into the soil at angle 45 degrees. It grows. That is called stem cutting. What I call it? Stem cutting for cassava, stem cutting. But we have leaf cutting. There are some plants that their leaves will grow. Examples are begonia and browphilium. Begonia and browphilium. When you take the leaf of browphilium or begonia, it has serrated edges. Serrated. The edges are like saw blades. In the edges, when you throw the leaf to the ground, the edges, at each of the edges, it will form roots which will attach to the soil. Then it will grow upward to form branches. That means from a leaf, you can have as much as up to 10 crops. Each of the edges will grow one to the ground. Then you allow them to grow. Later, you transplant them to new land. It can be done in browphilium. It can be done in begonia. That's the leaf cutting. Meanwhile, cassava, sugarcane, hibiscus cola, and cocoa, they are stem cutting. Then layering. Layering is another method of artificial propagation. Layering involves the bending of a branch that is very close to the earth, to the ground. This is the branch is bent to the ground to touch the ground. Then the point at which it touches the ground, it is cut. It cuts to the cambium to expose the cambium. The cambium consists of the pericycle and all the pericardium, all the other part of it that can multiply fast. When that area is cut and is bent to the ground, a peg is used to hold it to the ground. And then dead leaves are brought to cover it with a rich soil. Loamy soil is built to cover it. And then the branch is cut off. You will allow that portion that is on the ground to stay. Food will be transferred by the plant to that side. And then roots will be formed. Gradually, the cut branch will begin to grow back, fresh branches. When you allow it to grow for a while, Then you cut the branch away, allowing the young plant to be formed from the bent branch. Later, after some weeks or months, the bent branch that is attached to the ground would have become a well-established plant. It cannot be transplanted to a new place. That is called layering. It's done by cocoa and coffee. It can only be done when the plant is still young, when it's about 60 centimeters tall, 30 centimeters to 60 centimeters tall. At that time, it has young branches that are resilient, that can be bent and that can touch the ground. That is layering. Now, budding. The word budding means the bringing together of two, budding and grafting. The two of them are related. That means the put together of two different parts of the plant. One is called the stalk, the other is called the scion. The stalk and the scion. The stalk is the part of the plant that is attached to the ground. The scion is the part of the plant that is the area that has the upper part that is taken to be fixed on the stalk. Now for the budding. Budding can be done for citrus, orange, and rubber. For budding, it involves budding and the grafting, cutting. Any artificial vegetable propagation must be done when the plant is young. When the plant is young, when it has not started to produce flowers or fruit. When it has started to produce flowers or fruit, vegetable propagation is impossible, except for cutting. It can be done in cutting. But layering, budding, cutting, grafting is not possible again. Now for budding, you get a young plant, and then you get what we call the bud wood. The bud wood is the branch that's brought from an existing plant. And then the stock plant, upon which we want to bud, is cut into a T shape with a budding knife. You call it the T shape or inverted T shape, no matter how it is convenient for you. Then you open it, the back. The back has a tough covering of the plant. The back is cut with a budding knife, and then is exposed. The cambium is exposed. Then you go to the budding, the budwood, which is a branch you have taken. The branch has a place known as the node. The branch has a place known as the node. Wow. The branch has a place known as the node. In the node, you have the leaf. Then, at the angle between the node and the leaf and the node, you have to call the axillary bud. Axillary bud. What is a bud? A bud is a young, emerging part of the stem. There are two types of bud. You have the axillary bud, you have the apical bud. The apical bud is at the apex at the top, which form the vertical growth of the plant and grows up like that vertically. But the axillary bud is one that gives you the branches. The bud will become a branch, will be growing by the side. Now, when the bud is just emerging, you cut it off, you remove the leaf. You now cut the bud in form of heart shape. You insert the bud into the T shape that you have cut on the stalk. That process is called budding. Take the bud that you have removed from the anode. The bud is a young growing branch which you have cut. Insert into the T shape you have cut on the stalk wood, and then you attach it with rope. Sometimes you can use cellophane paper or nylon to cover everything up so that pests will not enter it, dirt will not enter it, and to not suffer any disease. You are allowed to stay like that for weeks. You discover after about 2-3 weeks that the auxiliary bud you inserted to the T shape will begin to grow new branches. You are allowed to continue to grow new branches. As new branches is growing and producing leaves and photosynthesizing, then you cut off the other part. The upper part you cut off should now be painted so that it does not grow again, while the branch that you have gotten from the bud wood continues to grow. That process is called budding. Budding is always used when you want to take advantage of a good scion. This one is called scion. You want to take advantage of the good branches or area part of the plant, and also advantage of the good stem and the good root formation. You condemn the area of a particular plant whose fruits are bad, but the roots are good. You condemn the branches. Then you look for the one that the fruits are sweet, but the roots are weak. You now take the scion, the bud, and put on it. That's the budding. Now, grafting is very close to budding. Grafting is very close to budding. For grafting involves the joining of two different plants together, the stalk to the scion and the scion to the stalk. Now, for you to do grafting, you've got to get the two crops that you want to use. Let's say citrus A and B, or let's say sweet orange and bitter orange. It is known that sweet orange, the fruits are very sweet, but the roots are weak. Most often, with a gentle breeze, the citrus tree, the sweet orange tree, may fall and waste. But bitter orange, the stems, the roots are very strong. Regardless of the storm, it will maintain its ground. So what do? We graft the sweet orange on bitter orange. Let's assume that sweet orange is A, bitter orange is B. The sweet orange has good branches that produce good fruits, but bad roots. This is the root, bad root, bad, or let me cancel bad, good, sweet. Now, for bitter orange, this bitter orange, the roots are very good, but the branches and the fruits are bad because they are very bitter. Bad, they are bitter. So what do? We condemn this root. This root is called stalk, and then the upper part is called scion. We condemn this, but we like this. We condemn this, we like. What do? We cut the scion of this. We remove the scion of this. We place it. That process is called grafting. For you to do grafting, you look for a sharp grafting knife, and then you cut the plant. The two of them must be of the same age and of the same of relative sizes. Then you cut it diagonally. Don't forget, I told you this has to be done when the plant is young, about 10 centimeters to 6 centimeters up. So it's very easy. Knife can cut it neatly, diagonally. The scion that is sweet is required. Meanwhile, the scion, the root that is good here is required. Once you cut this one, you reject it. You take the scion away. Then you take the scion, that's the rear part of the sweet orange, and put it on top of that of the bitter orange roots. And the two will be fastened together by rope. What is fastened together by rope, it can also be sustained by pegs so that it can stand in place. It's fastened together by rope, and then you put candle wax around it or nylon to cover it so that it was not exposed to any disease or any pest. Then you cut the branch on top away. You allow it to stay like that. After about 2-3 weeks, fresh young leaves will begin to grow from the scion. As the leaves begin to grow, then the joint point will begin to heal up. The cable to cable begin to heal up until a whole new plant is produced. This one is rejected, it's not useful. Now, the whole plant that is formed will be scion, the area portion of sweet orange, and the stalk, the root portion of bitter orange. Eventually, whenever the wind blows, the citrus plant, the budded or grafted citrus plant, will stand its ground because of the strong root gotten from the bitter orange. And whenever you want to, the time of fruition comes and it fruits, the orange that comes out will be very sweet, courtesy of the sweet orange. That process is called grafting. Grafting is used for many crops to take advantage of good shoot system to another one of good root system. Close to grafting is what we call marcotting. Marcotting is also called area graft. area layering. Area layering. For marketing, instead of you, let's say this is your plant. For layering, this is a plant, these are the branches. For layering, you take the branch that's very close to the ground, and then you bend it, and then you cut it. You cut it small. At that point, for the root to come, and you put peg. Instead of doing this, the other method is called marcotting. That branch, you allow it to flow on its own. Then you cut it, make some cut on the branch. Then you look for coconut husk. The coconut husk, that means we have removed the coconut. You cut the coconut into two, you remove the inside. The husk, you put very rich soil that is rich in organic matter. You put it, and then put on either side of the branch. Don't forget, you have put soil here, you have put soil here, so that is rich in loamy soil. You have cut the branch, then you put it either side of the branch that you have cut. Then you fasten it with rope. You cut the remaining part of the branch away. You leave it like that, hanging on the plant. The plant will be growing. Then you discover after a while that branch that you cut will now begin to grow young leaf. Once it grows young leaf, it will take its nutrients from the soil that you put in the coconut husk. The root will grow on it. Then after about 1 month to 1.5 months, when it is growing very well, you cut it away from the branch, from the tree, and then you replant it on the soil. You remove the coconut husk, you expose the roots, and then plant the plant inside the soil. It will stand on its own. That is why marcotting is called area layering. Instead of you to bend to the ground and then you cut it off, no, you bring the sand, the soil to the branch, sustained by coconut husk. It can be done to citrus, can be done to orange as well. These are examples of vegetative propagation that's artificial. And let's come again onto it and let's see it. Propagation of crops means reproduction in crops. It's a method by which crops reproduce and multiply. And there are two. You have sexual, you have the asexual. The sexual means you use seeds. The asexual means you use any other part of the plant aside the seeds. For use of seeds, it means you have to plant the seeds, which can be done in two ways. You use the nursery or you use the farmland street. When you plant in the farmland, it's called direct sowing or in situ planting. Direct sowing or in situ planting. If you don't want to use that, maybe there are tiny seeds like that of the pepper and some vegetable crops or tomato, which you have to first of all grow in the nursery. Then that means you have to use nursery planting. And when you are doing nursery planting, I thought that nursery can be done on the nursery bed or in the seed tray. That seed tray means you look for something like a tray or a bowl or a bucket. You put sand that is rich in organic matter, you grow your seeds there. Later, you can transplant to the farmland. That is a nursery. Either nursery or direct sowing in situ planting. Both of them needs the seed to germinate first before multiplication is possible. Germination needed to be done first. If the seed does not germinate out of the soil, there is no multiplication. Then we study germination. Germination, I said, is the process by which seeds develop to seedlings or the sprouting of the seed out of the soil. And the factor required include to good temperature, air, oxygen, moisture, water, and then the viable seeds. That means healthy seeds. That is for the direct sowing, and that's for seeds, sexual propagation. Then we say sexual. Two, you have natural, you have artificial. Natural means the plant on its own, reproduce from its parts. Examples are sucker, plantain. You have young shoots coming out of the stem below the very close to the ground. In plantain, crown sucker also, the crown of his head can be used to propagate runners in grasses, corn in cocoyam, bulbs in onion, bulbs in water yam, solar in grasses, underground stem as in yam, and nourished potato. Then you also have the artificial one, which includes cutting. Cutting is any part of the plant that is cut to portions and planted to the soil, which majorly include the stem, the leaves, and the branches. And the common example is stem cutting of cassava, sugarcane, hibiscus, and leaf cutting of begonia and prophylium. Then you have the layering, that means the part of the plant branch that's close to the ground. You bend to the ground, and then you cut it little so that it can produce roots from the place. You cover it with soil and with also grasses as moisture. You peg it on the ground, allow it to stay. About 2-3 weeks, it's now forming new branches. You cut the branch out of the main plant and you transplant. Budding is when you take the bud from the axillary bud of a budded wood. You take the axillary bud, which is just forming, and go and put inserted the T-shape you have cut on the stalk of another plant. You insert it and you tie it with ropes, and you put cellophane or polythene bag to prevent any germs from entering to it. About 1 to 1.5 months, you can cut the upper part away and coat them with paint, while the budded branch begin to grow for you. The marcotting is like layering, but area layering. You bring the soil, fertile soil inside coconut husk, you wrap it on the branch that has been cut. When a new shoot is forming, you cut it away and then go and replant. And the grafting are the same. All these are propagation of crops.